Thanks for coming here, Ben. I really appreciate it. So yeah, we do go way back. Ben has known me before I jumped into the real estate game. I used to be a part of a property management company and used to visit all the real estate offices, just promoting our services and what we did. So that was for years. I did that and became the director of business development for them. And Brett Caldwell, I'm sure you guys all remember Brett. He reached out to me and said, "Hey, man, we're looking for a team leader to run the Lake City's office. Would you be interested in doing it?" And I said, "I'd be interested in talking to you about it for sure." And so I sat down with him, talked to him about it, and jumped over and became the team leader of the Lake City's office for 3 years. Did that, and I had the my little real estate business going on the side. I had my wife was mostly running it at the time. I was doing all the marketing stuff behind the scenes, but I was focusing on being a team lead. And the it just kept growing. And then I reached out to Brett. I said, "Man, Brett, our little family business is taking off." And so he coached me through it, and I wound up stepping down from the team lead role and just took over the Ottsome Realty Team. This is a while back, and we've just crushed it since then. And people ask me all the time, like, how'd your business double your first year and then triple the next year? And how it did it was everything I did as a team lead that I taught coach train agents to do, I just did. And that's one thing I noticed as a team lead is everything that real estate agents did that were successful, where they were just following the model, they were consistent. The ones that were struggling that I coached through, and they kept struggling, kept reinventing stuff and trying to try new things. You ever hear that? They were just not following the model, not being purposeful. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to be like these guys that I coached, and that's what I've done. Last year we were the number one team in the Keller Williams Allen office, which was one of our goals. And this is, I mean, we're one of the smaller offices, but man, the production here is crazy. The profitability here is crazy. And so when you're the number one team in an office that does the business they do, that was a hard. I mean, it came down neck to neck with us and another team. We were watching their numbers, they were watching our numbers, and we were competing. And they took it the year before just barely, and this last year we took it from them. And so we're watching it again, see how it goes with the awards. I haven't looked as close because I'm a little nervous, but anyways, but we so I mean that was my journey into running the Ottsome Realty Team, being in Keller Williams. We do anywhere from 25 to $30 million in volume a year. 97% of our business comes from Sphere referrals. We have three real main databases. That's my pickleball database, which is my funnest database to work. Then we have just friends and family, Sphere, church, and then I have my neighborhood, my HOA that I farm and that I'm actively involved with on the board with them. And so those are our three main areas of business. I'm originally from Las Vegas, Nevada, so this family reunion, I'm headed back home. And it's cool actually because so I talked a little bit about in the meeting. I don't know how many of everybody was in the meeting, but I dropped out of high school 25 years ago. Actually, January was 25 years ago that I dropped out of high school. And so I remember when I turned 18 years old on January 8th, I go down to my school and I hand them my license, said, "Hey, I'm withdrawing from school." And the lady that processed that, she goes, "What are you doing? What are you going to do?" I was like, "Man, I'm moving to Texas. I'm going to live with my stepdad. My uncle's starting a mobile detailing business. I'm going to get out there and I'm just going to work and figure out my life." And she's like, she goes, "Don't drop out. Go to the alternative school. We'll figure it out." And she's doing what she's supposed to do, right? Highly encouraged me not to drop out. But I knew it's what I needed to get away from where I was. I needed to escape the friends and the area I was in to be able to reset. For whatever reason, at 18, I just had this epiphany, like, dude, I do not like where my life's headed to, and no one's going to bail me out. So I decided to withdraw. I moved to Texas, and I was going to come here for 1 year and just be here for a year, reset my life, get back on track, and then go back and try to get back to Vegas where all my friends were and my social life, my life was. And well, you guys just told you that was 25 years ago, and here I am still in Texas. And now I consider myself more of a Texan than I do from Las Vegas. So it's my high school reached out to me though. One of the teachers there, she helped. She was there back when I was there. She said that listen, she's got a group of kids that are what they call credit challenged. It means they're not like credit card debt. They're talking credit as in high school credit. They're on the verge of dropping out. Or they're on the verge of being kicked out because they're not going to graduate. And so my high school actually has one of the highest dropout rates in our school district. And so she asked me to come in and speak with them, share a little bit about the journey where I've been. And so we timed it where it would be during family reunion. So I'm going to be the KW family reunion, and then after that, I'll be at my high school there, about 30 minutes from the Mandalay Bay, speaking to all day Thursday to the high school. So I'm pretty excited about that. Actually, I am teaching a class at family reunion. I'm actually more nervous about talking to these high school students than I am to the family. I don't know. Realtors don't make me nervous, but this high school is making me nervous for some reason. So I don't know why.
Nervous too. I think, Jason, it makes you nervous because you understand the position that you hold. And I mean, you've always been way more mature, I think, than your age. And I think that when you're in front of young people who we know can either go here or go here, and what you say, you already know will touch one person. And if you touch one, you already know the importance of that. I believe that you're going to touch so many more. And that's the reason why your school reached out to you, right? Because you've been there, right? It's not like you were valedictorian and you're coming in, right? You were somebody who's probably below where those kids are today. And you're going to inspire so many people like you've inspired in your market center. I think here in your community, it's crazy. You were team leader of Lake Cities, which is an office that I co-owned, right? Which is interesting. I wish that I had ownership when you were there, right? But I think I wanted to chat with you today because your pickleball story, and you'll touch on that briefly, but I don't want us to just focus on that because for me, it's about purpose and community. And I think your story resonates with me, and I know it will with this audience today. So I want you to be sure and touch on that briefly. So hit the pickleball and then purpose and community. I think that's what you're about. So let's go.
Cool. Yeah. So I will tell you, so pickleball is one of my passions. I'm very much involved with it. Anything I get involved with, I go like 100 miles an hour, 110%. It's just my nature. It's what I do. Which is why my wife gets mad whenever she sees me picking up a new hobby, because she knows it's okay. Here we go. It was back in 2019 that I discovered pickleball. We have an investment property in Hot Springs Village, Arkansas, which is about 20 minutes north of Hot Springs. And we went up there as a family all the time. And it's this old retirement village that they then allowed people to come in and have ownership. That it used to be a 55 plus community, but then they opened it up to everybody. And so I was vacationing there, staying in Airbnb, and it is amazing. It is a resort community. Golf, they have 8 golf courses. They have bocce ball leagues, all this stuff. And they have these pickleball courts. And I was driving by one day and it said pickleball courts. I'm like, what the heck is that? Like, I'm curious about it. So I just pulled in, and I grew up all the time. I grew up in rec centers. When you live in rough areas, there's a lot of rec centers. And the idea is the city's trying to keep the kids off the streets during the summer and keep them occupied. And so I grew up in a lot of rec centers. So I played a lot of basketball tournaments during the summer and a lot of they have tons of ping pong in these rec centers. So I played a lot of ping pong. So I was like, man, this kind of reminds me of ping pong. So I drove in, looked at it, and there was this 85-year-old dude and this 80-year-old dude, and they were playing. I walked in like, what is this? And like, oh, it's pickleball. Here, grab one of our paddles and you can play with us. And so I did, and I'm like, I'm about to play with these guys, and I'm trying to have mercy. Man, they smoked me, man. They humbled me. I'm like, what the heck? I was like running all over the court, and they're just barely moving. Like at times when the ball would get on the ground, the guy would go to pick down the pick. I was like, I don't know if he's getting back up. And but man, they were awesome. And I was like, dude, what just happened? And they're like, oh, it's pickleball. We know how to use our paddle and strategy. You're trying to use your athleticism. And I was like, man, I love things that require strategy. And I was like, this is pretty cool. So I came back to Texas. We came back from the vacation, and I was Googling pickleball, looked it up. In the Rowlett Community Center, they have from 8 to noon, Monday through Friday, there's a huge group that goes and plays. I'm like, dude, I don't care. I'm showing up. So I show up, and I start playing with these guys. And it's a bunch of retired elderly people, and I start playing, and I get good to where I'm starting to beat them all the time now. It took me about a year. And I'm like, this is so much fun. And then as all things, you start becoming Facebook friends with everybody, and all of a sudden your algorithm starts to shift. Facebook started showing me all things pickleball. And these people started posting like, hey, we're going to play here. And I friend them. I'm like, do you guys care if I come play? I'm looking for more competition. So I started playing with this lady. Her name's Francine. This was 5 years ago. And Francine's like, yeah, come on over. So I show up to play. And this group is playing. And I start playing, and they're good. And I'm like, this is way more fun. You guys are so good. I'm like drenched in sweat, played for hours. Well, the crazy thing is that I went there to escape real estate. I went there to escape. I just went there just to like vent, bad transaction. I just want to go play some pickleball and just exercise too. And so all of a sudden, as we all do, we become friends. And I start doing tournaments with them. They're like, oh, you should become Francine's partner, do a tournament. And I'm not even kidding. The pickleball community is so well connected. It's almost like a church community. Like I've helped other pickleball players with charities. One of our pickleball friends, their kids were driving across country going on their way to they just graduated college on the way to their first job, headed towards LA. And their car breaks down in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico. All the pickleball people were just texting each other. Anybody got any connections? I had a connection there. We got him towed, got him taken care of, got him connected with a cousin. And it was just like, I'm telling you, it's like a little church community. Like they help each other. Anyway, so I start playing these tournaments. We start traveling together, tournaments like we're in high school again, competing for the state championship. And so I get involved, and of course, as all things, people get to know each other. And I taught this in the class. People do business they know, like, and trust. I was not there in any form, fashion, lead generating, trying to become a realtor. It just naturally happened. And so it's funny. It's because now I looked, and now I'm close to half my business comes from pickleball now. I mean, it's just how it is. And Francine's house, I mean, we've helped Francine, and she's getting ready to sell her house, and she's having us list her house. And all I did was respond to a Facebook message she posted, like, "Hey, pickleballers, we're meeting here. Anybody want to come play?" And now I play with them every Monday, and I tied it into everything. My HOA, I said, hey, I went to the board and said, hey, can I do a pickleball clinic on the tennis courts we have here? I think our community would love pickleball. Like, absolutely. So I sent out a message every week. We had 40 people show up. I taught them how to play pickleball. And then every week they kept playing and playing. And now the HOA has asked me to get involved more, to the point now I'm on the board. They reached out to me and said, hey, we have a vacancy. Would you be willing to be on the board? Now I'm on the board. And then those people that I taught over a year ago how to play came to the board and said, we want pickleball courts. What do we got to do? And I'm like, as one of the voting members, I vote for pickleball courts. And so they had me go get quotes and everything. We took out one of the tennis courts, put in 4 permanent pickleball courts. And the craziest thing, you drive by that park every night, it is packed full of people in our community playing pickleball now. And so so in my neighborhood, and this problem ties into the rise and grind side of it. So in my neighborhood, I've taught pickleball and stuff like that. But again, people know who you are and what you do. We helped this family. They reached out to me and said, hey, we came to your pickleball clinic. Sorry, we never really came back, but we followed you on the board. And when you post things and you teach about a neighborhood, we want to sell our house and think you'd be a good realtor. Would you be willing to talk to us about selling our house? I'm like, absolutely. And so I went and talked to them. We helped them sell their house, and they just called me out of the blue because they sold their house, took all the way equity, and said, we're going to get an apartment close to our jobs. We want to live the apartment life. I'm like, great. Well, here they are breaking their lease, calling me, going, hey, we're going to buy a new build. We put you down as our realtor. Is that okay? I'm like, I guess that's okay, And so, but the thing is, it all ties in together, right? I mean, you're just out there doing what you love and you're being passionate about it. And so I became the USA pickleball director for the region. So I was over Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Arkansas. And I had to put on an annual tournament that hosted close to 1,000 players from those 4 states. The winner of that tournament goes on to play nationals, which is sometimes in California, sometimes in Phoenix. 2 years ago, it was hosted here in Dallas. And so I put on that tournament. I'm no longer the regional director. I was like, man, this is just HOA board, community. And I was like, I got to step down from something. And so I chose to just enjoy pickleball more and step down from that role. So, yeah.
That is such a crazy story. I mean, community, I think that the cycling community and folks who run have a similar community. I mean, they're very close knit, and there's tons of business that come from that. I think your story is so unique because, again, it was a release. You were going to pound the damn ball, right? You weren't looking,
100%.
right? And I think when we go small, it allows us to go big. You weren't even thinking that. And then all of a sudden, this, one relationship, two relationships, and then here it is years later. I mean, you dominate the space. And I told you, I've never even held a racket, but because the athleticism, I think that when I do, I think I'm going to be very good. That's the confidence I have.
Yeah, I can.
So I'm ready. And I know you said you teach me. So
Let's
uh,
go.
maybe after Vegas we're playing, or I'll come to you and you'll show me a little something. So I love that story because I think it just resonates, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be pickleball, right? One of my
Yeah.
good friends, they scrapbook and they yearbook, yeah, scrapbook and scrapbooking.
Crochet.
Yeah, right. They do that. And that has grown their community. I know some ladies do pickleball, some fellas play poker. It doesn't really matter,
Yeah.
right? But I think find something that you enjoy, and then that way it grows from there. It's not work. It might be a release, right? And then all of a sudden you look up and it's a year or two later and you realize, my goodness, I'm making a difference. I'm enjoying myself. And then there's some benefits that can come from it. So thank you for sharing that. I know it resonated with somebody. So and you're bigger than pickleball. And I want to make sure we touch on that today because I don't want people walking away thinking that Jason's all about, he locked up into a space, right? You guys are doing so many great things on your team, and you didn't even talk about, the social media side of your business and how that's resonating with people. And again, you're growing community there. So speak on that briefly.
So social media has been one of the greatest things, one of the greatest inventions, but also I guess can be one of the worst inventions because it can be a major distraction too. But it's also a great way to tell your story, to get out there. I mean, it is. I've said it since the beginning. It is the sending out postcards is okay, but this is like the digital postcard. It's a way to look at it, and you're getting to tell your story and engage. Um, I will tell you, I like to focus on the social media being positive, not controversial. So I never post anything political. I don't post religious things. I obviously I have my beliefs and things like that, but I want to create every post I do is how am I uniting? How am I leading? How am I inspiring? I don't ever want to create division. I don't think it's where I want to do that. It's just me personally. So I have a lot of my friends in business are all walks of life, and it's none of my business. But I like to be up in that. So I do post a lot on social media, tell stories. I just posted this last week and just spontaneously decided to go visit my daughter in college. And I've had people text me right now like, "Hey man, I saw your story, what you posted about that. That's cool. I mean, I felt that." And one of our clients who moved here because of her grandkids, want to be close to her grandkids, she texts me, goes, "Hey, I saw that." She goes, "I just want you to know I'm so glad you helped us with the move." She goes, "This is why we chose you, because you see the way we see, where you understand the significance of the small things that lead to big things with families and things like that." And so yeah, social media is one of the best way to tell. So I do talk about the market on there. I do share. I try to make every 4 posts I make, 3 out of those 4 are personal stories. 1 will be a business. My Ottsome Facebook page will be all business because that's people are expecting that from the real estate side of it. We have a VIP. I have a exclusive Facebook group that's only for past clients that I do a lot with. I do a lot of giveaways on there. I make it a community that you want to be a part of. So we do quite a bit on social media. I will tell you, man, I know this sounds crazy, but the things that have gotten us the most business are the things that we do that have nothing to do with business.
Absolutely.
We get referrals and we get more communication from clients and from referrals when we do. So I'll give you an example. So last year, and this goes back to the community too. So again, high school dropout. I really feel I bought my very first house at the age 21. I didn't know I could buy a house at age 21. I just got married. I was living in an apartment. And I just thought you're supposed to have kids, you're supposed to get a job and like live along, like it's like you had to pay your dues. That was my mentality. I didn't know. And this loan officer's like, "Hey, why don't you buy a house?" And I'm like, I'm not supposed to yet. It's not the time, right? And they're like, "Why not?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just thought I'm supposed to be old to buy a house." And they're like, "Well, let me run your credit. Let me see." And so this loan officer actually like lead generated me and got me pre-approved. And I'm like, wait, you're telling me I could buy a house? Like I'm approved with my little business I have going. I had this little mobile detailing business at the time. And they're like, yeah, you qualify. And I'm like, so all I got to do is go find a house. Like, yeah, you find a house, you put an offer on it, you go. And so I'm like, this person at my church, and I did my first transaction without a realtor. And it was just by accident. This person in my church was like, hey, we're looking to move. We want to move back to where we're from. We've got this house that's run down. We just want to sell it for what we owe. And anybody interested? And I was like, dude, you craziest thing. I just got approved. I don't know how, but I can buy a house apparently. And like, well, if you want to come look at it. So I go and look at it. And they were, it was in downtown Wiley. And it was a 1982 1,500 square foot house. And I'm just new. We've been married like less than 6 months. And I'm like, look what we're looking at. And the house, it had the brown shag carpet from the original. They were raising pit bulls, and then they were selling them, and they were keeping them in the so they were using the living room carpet to urinate on. The fireplace was a cat box. They were pouring cat litter in the fireplace and letting the cats go in there. I mean, it was, you can imagine what this house looked like. And I'm like, this is amazing. We're gonna get a house. And so we put an offer on it, and man, we bought that house for $86,000, our very first house. And we turned around and sold it 3 years later. Anyway, so the reason I'm telling this story is because I didn't know any of that. Where was that lesson in high school? Where did they talk about mortgages? I didn't learn about. I had enough credit because I started a business, and I had to get credit cards going to get supplies and materials, and so I had credit. I didn't know it. I wasn't purposeful about it. And so here's what I did was I was like, dude, we're failing our kids by not teaching them. I mean, great. They need to learn the math. They need to learn they need to learn what they're learning. But where is the other part of it? Where's the stuff that they're going to get them to build wealth? And so for years I talked about it. And last year I finally said, screw it. I'm not talking about it anymore. I'm going to do it. And so I created a youth leadership and financial academy is what we call it. We're going to do it again this summer. It was such a big hit. We're going to do it in the summer. And what we did was we invited, I reached out to one of my mentors that I met. He was the former president of Lord and Taylor. He was a senior finance officer for Ford Motor Companies. And so I called him and I said, hey, you are one of the people that I admire the most with your leadership and talent. Would you be willing to fly out here and spend 2 days? I'm going to get all these kids that are going into high school or between the age of going into high school and recently graduated high school. And I'm going to have them in there, and I'm going to have you speak, and I'm going to have multiple speakers. I got a therapist. One of our clients who's a therapist said, hey, would you be willing to talk about ADHD, depression, anxiety to these kids and how they can cope and do some things to cope with it? And then and of course the kids, they love to hear from YouTubers. So one of our clients, we helped him buy a house. He's a YouTube influencer that lives here in Dallas, and he now coaches a ton of businesses and YouTube influencers on how to build their brand on YouTube. So he makes money off the influencer. So he's taking it to a whole new level. So I asked him to come in and do a class about YouTube and about how they can build channels and how they can build a business. And he talked about the pros and the cons behind it. And then I had a very successful financial advisor who's here locally, if the client doesn't have at least $250,000 to invest, he doesn't work with him. So he's been very successful. And I had him come in and talk about finances and things like that. And then of course we talked about real estate, and then we did a resume building class. But my favorite thing that we did was in sixth grade in Las Vegas. I was in junior high, and my history teacher did the stock market game. And he did it as if we were in the 50s. And he had an airline company. He made them all up. And he would every week we came in and go stock market time. And he would share like, oh, a plane crashed. So if you own this stock, your stock went down. And I could not get enough of that. I was so fascinated with that as a sixth grader. I was like, man, I'm going to buy stocks one day and learned all that. And so what I did was I created a stock market game that I invented, trying to remember how he did it. I did a bunch of research on it. So every hour we stopped the seminar and we said, ding, 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 stock market time. And we'd share we made up all these stocks, invented them all. And I'd have them crashing and going up. And these kids were in all trading. We gave them papers to trade on. They'd turn them into my assistant, and she was logging them in. And then they would calculate their wealth, and they'd have to share their balance sheet. And at the end of the 2 days, we said, whoever built the most wealth we gave $100 cash to. And the coolest thing was you had these kids that were leading, they were making a lot of sense. And this kid who was quiet, who had just kind of been casually trading, took some gambles, and there at the end, his stocks that he bought just shot up, and he was the winner. And it was pretty cool to see that. And I asked him, "What were your ahas from this? What'd you learn from it?" And so, it was pretty cool. One of the biggest things I wanted to learn was don't emotionally invest, because something happens doesn't mean you just go and fire sell all your stocks. You pay attention to what's going on, and it's a long-term thing. And so it was pretty cool doing that. And so the reason I bring that up is because it had nothing to do with real estate. Nothing. I didn't bring up Ottsome Realty Team. I didn't have no sponsorships, anything. I paid for it all in my pocket. And we had about 50 kids there. And we did do it here in our office because the training room's free. I was paying for food, and so that was already expensive. I flew some of the speakers in, so that cost money. So I did this, and man, I got text messages from so many clients. So many people were like, "This is why you were my realtor. This is, hey, by the way, I was telling somebody about this, and they mentioned they were thinking about selling a house. I'm referring. We got referral. We weren't even asking for referrals. I wasn't bringing up real estate. It just happened, and it's because they know. I guess they just know me, and they know that I do real estate, and so I guess that's their way of supporting, which I appreciate. But I was in no way trying to do this for real estate. But that's why I brought up the point is I seem to get more business when I'm not trying to get business, but I'm out there trying to help. So
It's so easy, man. It's a no-brainer. People know your heart. They know the way you're led. Again, that's why I started today's conversation with community and purpose, because for me, you resonate that. You're out here making a difference with our youth, and I think it's because, and again, I don't even know your family situation, but I'm guessing that it wasn't optimal at all, right? I mean, this is all I know. I've had mom and dad by my side every step of the way. And it's hard for me to completely understand those who've been raised by single parents or by grandparents. But again, this is my reality. And I think yours has been so different. And your heart, you're just led. Brother, I love your energy. I love your spirit. I love the way you're led, because you're a leader, not just in the real estate industry, but out here, you're making a difference with kids. And we've all said it. Yes, we know they're our future. But again, they're looking for somebody who gives a damn, and that's you.
yeah,
So thank you for
yeah.
what you do.
I mean, that comes from when I was a kid. I was like, where were those people for me? Like, why didn't
Absolutely.
anybody reach out to me? And I'll be honest with you, Ben. So I'm currently writing a book about it. And I was working on it yesterday. So when I realized, man, they were there. I wasn't ready for them. I remember I was kicked out of school, and I got pulled over by this officer. Obviously, you could see I was young and out of class. And so he's thinking, oh man, I got a truant kid, and slam dunk gonna get this kid truancy. And he said, why are you not in school? And I said, I've been on kicked out of school for 3 weeks now, and they're waiting for my mom to come meet with the dean. So in Vegas, it's called RPC, Required Parent Conference. And they don't let you back in until your parents come in and talk. And my mom's like, I'm done trying to get you back in school. You just keep doing this. And so she didn't want to go. And so I legally was not allowed at school. And so I told the officer, I'm not allowed at school. So where I got pulled over just happened to be close to where our apartment was. And my mom comes driving by, and she sees, oh my goodness, she sees me pulled over, and she flips around, pulls up, and actually had two friends with me. They were skipping school because they didn't do their projects. And Todd and LeVay was her name. And my mom pulls up, walks down, goes, and she's from Alabama, so she has a deep accent. And she goes, officer, you let those kids go. They're good. You take my son to jail. I'm like, oh my gosh, this just got worse. And I will tell you, so me and my mom still to this day don't have the greatest relationship. I mean, it's pretty bad. We don't talk about my youth, but it was a rough situation. Very unstable. Never knew what I was going to get. We're constantly moving, being kicked out of places, and so it was rough. Anyways, but so the police officer, I think after talking to my mom, realized, okay, this kid's in a pretty bad situation. So he actually pulled me to the side, sat me on the curb, goes, man, why aren't you in school? What's going on? And he actually had a heart to heart with me. It was pretty cool. At the time, I was thinking, man, who is this dude? He don't know me, like, but he tried, and I appreciate it. To this day, I appreciate that. I don't even know who it was.
Right.
But I did appreciate, because it wasn't long after that when I woke up. I think it was a bunch of little moments like that where the officer probably left and go, man, that kid's not gonna do it. He can be a loser. But it was months later when it's all adding up. The more you have police officers like that, the more teachers that say, hey man, what are you doing? I care about you. The more you hear that, the more you go, eventually one of them's going to click, and then all of them added up to that moment. And I remember that it was the moment that I said, dude, what am I doing? I'm about to turn 18 years old and I'm going to either wind up in jail or on drugs, or something's going to happen, man. I'm like, what am I doing? And it's just like all that just keeps those small influences. And so sometimes I guess as adults, when we feel like the kids aren't listening, when we feel like they don't care and they're not, dude, trust me, eventually it's going to click. Eventually, the more that happens, the more they'll go, you know what? All these people trying to help me, I better listen. And that's what happened to me. Was I started listening. And then once I made that decision, that's when my stepdad and my uncle called and said, hey, why don't you come to Texas and get your life in order? We'll help you out. Come, we're starting a business. Come here and just help us with the mobile detailing. And I was like, you know what? You're right. And that, you know what, you're right, was from all those people leading up to it trying to help me, that I said, whatever, whatever, you know. And so, and that here I am 25 years later, still in Texas.